Welcome to the High School for Recording Arts as we proudly present Midwest Basketball League action. Today, a battle of undefeateds and a rematch of last year's championship series featuring the Minnesota Rangers and Cedar Valley Core Kings, both teams at 6-0. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Peden and I'm joined by a very honored guest. She's on break from Michigan State and 2016 Miss Basketball Minnesota, Nia Holly. And Nia, this is your first outing as a broadcaster, so what do you make of it?
I'm a little nervous, as you can see, but I'm really excited to kind of get this started and get it going and hopefully make this a career.
And you happen to know a few of these athletes who are taking part in this game today, so what can they provide in this matchup?
Hopefully a lot of fun dunks that I can see. Hopefully they've worked on their game a lot, and it's really fun to watch. People like Marvin Singleton and Tim Lott, really put their name out there and try to get to the pro league, and I'm really proud of them.
And for Cedar Valley, they have a pretty balanced group. They're not afraid to have 6 or 7 players in double digits for scoring, and so how will that balance help them get through a very talented Minnesota team?
I always say, you get 3 people in double figures and you're going to win the game. So hopefully if they get a lot of people in double figures, it's about to be a wrap for them.
Minnesota scoring a little more concentrated. You've got Rochester Rogers averaging 24 points. And the coaching staff is really impressed with the development of Tim Lott, who's averaging 21.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of points. So, if you have him in the game and he's done his thing, it's going to be a great game. And hopefully they can pull out this one as well.
The tip-off is coming up. Well, the starting lineups for you. You're watching Midwest Basketball League action.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Miss Amanda Yang.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight on the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets bright glare, the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And as we rejoin you here at the High School for Recording Arts, Nia, how much time do you think you've spent listening to the Star Spangled Banner?
A lot of time, actually. It takes a long time, but it's actually really nerve-wracking to listen to it before a game, honestly.
Maybe we should get you out there. I hear you can sing.
I thought about it for Hopkins, and then it just never ended up happening. But luckily, my voice is
Something
a little
happened. What do you mean something happened?
Kaz tried to get me to do it one time, and I'm like, I'm not really sure. I think I'm going to stick to basketball.
As I heard you were a singer in your previous career.
Yeah, I still do a little bit of singing here and there. May be able to further that career, too, after these 4 years pass.
Let's take a look at the starters for the two teams. For Cedar Valley, it's going to be number 8, Alex Houston, alongside number 14, Andre Hicks. Houston is a post, and Andre Hicks is a guard. Rajon Kelly, the wing, number 24. Raheem Tyler, another 4, number 33. And Anthony James, number 52. He's a guard. Minnesota will start Meach Williams, number 1. He's a guard. Dominique Dawson, the 6'8 center, number 4. Rochester Rogers, the 6'2 forward, number 14. Quentin Jackson, number 24, the 6'1 guard, and Tim Lott, number 39, the 6'4 forward. If you're wondering about Tim Lott's number, 39 is not a common one in basketball. He wears it in honor of his mother. He lost his mother when he was 15, and that happened at the age of 39, and that's why Tim wears that number.
I mean, that's a weird number. I was actually talking to a couple of my teammates about the different numbers that you can choose, and they told me that you can only choose like 1 through 30, and I'm like, I don't think that's the case, but I mean, that's a really cool number. I'm really glad that he's honoring his mom that way.
And while we're on the subject of numbers, how did you settle on 12?
I actually was number 24 for the longest, and when I was friends with me and Courtney, we decided that whoever won the next game was going to be able to get the number 24, and she ended up winning that game, so I had to split the number into 12, and I just settled on that one. You know, not a lot of people have it, but I chose to try to make it kind of special.
So you and Courtney have quite a rivalry going on that dates back for several years, apparently.
Oh yeah, that's my best friend though. We talk every day in college, and I mean, you go through struggles this entire time in high school, but she's a really good friend of mine.
And if you're not familiar with the situation, Nia and Courtney played against each other a few times, including last year at the state championship, and then they squared off again in the All-Star Series, and they're still doing it in the Big Ten with Courtney at Wisconsin and Nia, as we noted, at Michigan State. So you guys have built up quite the friendship by playing against each other almost on a regular basis.
Pretty much. You know, it was really cool to see each other get to the college level and especially be able to still play each other for another 4 years. And I mean, it furthers the rivalry, but it even strengthens our friendship as well.
Well, speaking of rivalries, this is a building one. These two teams met last year in the championship. Cedar Valley won that match. Both teams at 6-0. 3 on the way is off the mark from Raheem Tyner. You may have a tough time seeing it because we don't have bleachers on this floor, as that three-pointer rims in and out from Rogers, but the black line is the three-point line, and we do have shot clocks. We play with professional rules, so 12-minute quarters, 24-second clock.
Very nice pass inside to the big man.
That's Raheem Tyner to get us going. A lot of these teams play up and down. Scoring is bountiful here, so you may get all-star-like numbers. Well, maybe not quite all-star. I'm still waiting for a 200-point game. I think we're going to get that at some point.
Well, that means there's zero defense being played.
Rochester Rogers is at the line. Rogers averaging 24.2 a game. Both teams in their second year of operation. And Minnesota's already had an ownership change. And that's because the previous owner of this team became the president of the Midwest Basketball League as Alex Houston gets the transition finish. And for Cedar Valley, a lot of new faces, only 3 or 4 returners compared to last year's team. But they do a lot of team building exercises. Three on the way. In and out from Jackson. Battle for the rebound will go to Rogers there. We'll get names and numbers as we move along. There's Tim Lott. You see Minnesota favoring the three-point shots early. Here comes Cedar Valley. Nice baseline move, and Rajon Kelly scores.
All 6 of Cedar King's points have come from inside, so I think that Minnesota should, you know, reevaluate what they're doing.
Hence the timeout. 6-1 is our score, and as you noted, Cedar Valley attacking the inside and having much success. Minnesota trying to make it work from the perimeter, but they're having a tough time doing it.
It's important to really attack inside and get everybody else involved. You know, you get 3 people in double figures, you know, that's pretty much a for sure win, or at least a very close game.
Still a long way to go. They charged the timeout to Cedar Valley. I thought Minnesota called it, but we'll keep an eye on it. There's Meach Williams. Once again, Cedar Valley doing a good job of sealing off the inside. And that's going to be a foul on Cedar Valley and a tough break because it looked like they had a fast break play in the making. In your case, Nia, when you come across a team that does a good job of sealing the inside, how do you penetrate? Well, there's one way to do it.
That is true. You really attack all the gaps that you can possibly get. You know, use all the pump fakes that you can have in your arsenal, and you know, move the ball. You know, as long as the defense shifts, and as long as the offense knows what they're doing with it, you'll be fine.
4 different players have scored for Cedar Valley as they continue to attack the paint. Now Minnesota trying to make it work. Dominique Dawson couldn't get the finish that time. But a long way to go. We're only in the first quarter. And that's going to be a travel. Taryn Buford was on it.
Actually thought that was a pretty good pump fake.
It was a good pump fake, but from my vantage point, I thought Anthony James got a little bit of a bunny hop.
Good point, good point.
But no, it was the right idea. Just, you got to keep your feet on the ground. But that's all right. You'd rather have that mistake with 9 minutes to go in the first than 9 seconds left in the game. Dominique Dawson scores, and now Minnesota is working their way in the paint. That's where you like to go, isn't it, Nia?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you get all the easy bunnies that you want, and you know, it's easier to make it from there than out on the perimeter.
Minnesota gets the steal. They haven't picked up by now. They're wearing the white and gray. Cedar Valley wearing the purple. 3-ball, corner pocket. Meach Williams.
This game so far has a very good pace to it.
And if Minnesota can start knocking down threes, as you know, that opens up the floor. Mid-range Jay, banking it in, was Anthony James. I know the game has favored point-blank shots and three-pointers, but I still have an appreciation for guys who master the art of the mid-range jumper.
That is true. That actually gets you a very long way in college and in the pro sports as well.
Another Cedar Valley foul. This is the third. It's 10-8. A nice spin move.
Strong move inside.
Rochester Rogers with his first field goal. Tyner through traffic, can't put it down. Rebound, unable to put it back was Alex Houston. Minnesota recovers. Lot for 3. Gets the friendly bounce.
It's always nice when you have a little roll on your shot.
And another timeout is called, 13-10 with 7:23 left. Like you said, Nia, this is a quick pace, and that is emblematic of Midwest Basketball League games.
Yes, it is. It's fast, and I mean, you know, you're in a hurry, you grab rebounds, and you're just on the go. Luckily, you know, they have good time to talk on the court and, you know exactly where each other are. I think they play together very well, both teams.
And I understand at Hopkins, that's what you guys like to do. You weren't afraid to push the ball?
Oh, of course not. I mean, transition basketball was our game. And, I mean, we ran into a couple of troubles, you know, against, like, St. Michael. You know, they stopped that right on, you know, either grabbing every rebound or picking us up before we even hit half court. So it's really interesting to see how this kind of, you know, dials down to.
Well, it helps to have some athletes, and where you went to school at Hopkins, there's usually plenty of them. Like UConn, they don't rebuild, they reload.
Oh, tell me about it. We'll see them next year.
Oh, UConn, that's right. You get UConn.
Don't worry, we'll be the next Mississippi State.
There you go. You saw Morgan Williams knock down that jumper.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one. I knew that one was, you know, great for her career, for sure.
You should have seen my face when she knocked it down.
our entire team was screaming at the TV because we couldn't believe what exactly just happened.
I don't think anyone could believe what happened. I think everybody, because they've been dominant for so many years, expected UConn to roll through the competition again, but
I thought they actually got a pretty hard bracket to start with. And I mean, when I saw that they were beating teams the way that they were beating them, especially the very good ones, I was a bit surprised.
And early on it was just because, you're right, new team, or almost new team. You didn't have Stewie and Morgan Tuck and Mariah Jefferson there, but Gino knows how to develop his recruits.
Oh, that's for sure. His interview, he said something pretty chilling, and I was like, oh, wow. I wonder how it is to play under him. I know it's hard to play under Susie Merchant, so I know he's a very intense coach, and I mean, he gets his girls right to win championship after championship.
He did say we were going to lose at some point, and I have to imagine several fans scoffed at that notion, and Mississippi State was not one of them.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, honestly, we were actually in South Carolina's bracket, so, you know, it's better to have the team that was in the same bracket as you win. But, I really thought Mississippi State could pull it out. But if you got to play that hard against UConn to pull out a win like that, I understand.
Well, we'll get to that bracket a little more in a moment. We have Cedar Valley on a fast break, and now both teams are really picking each other up on fast break plays. Open three, knocking it down is number 2.
I always admire the left-hand shooters. You know, they have nice rotation to the basketball, and, you know, it seems to always go in.
Number 2 is Dylan Hale, who I believe went to Washburn for high school. So Hale's on the board. We're tied at 13. Less than 6 to play in the first. Another 3. This one's short from Anthony James. Rogers saves it. And with the finish is Tim Lott. Those two have been hooking up pretty nicely.
I told you it's pretty well, you know, nice to gel with your players on the court and, you know, be great teammates at the end of the day. You know where they are every time on the court.
James draws contact, doesn't get the call, and a foul on Minnesota. And as we noted in the open, as Minnesota sends in a few subs, these two teams, they've had 6 games to get to know each other, so you're kind of at the midway point of the season. You're used to each other's tendencies, I would imagine, at this point.
Of course. I mean, you know, it's almost a challenge to play against a team that knows your tendencies, but, you know, it's also great to be able to, you know, find something else that's in your arsenal to be able to beat them.
Well, that's why when, you know, you get to playoffs, especially in professional basketball or semi-pro, it's always fun to see what develops because the teams know each other quite well as Damian Lawler goes to the line. It comes down to execution.
Damian Lawler's at the line, shooting 2.
Lawler knocks down the front end. Lawler averaging 12.7 a game. 63% free throw shooter. And I don't jinx him there. He knocks both down. 17-13 in favor of Minnesota. A rematch of last year's Midwest Basketball League Championship. Both teams enter this game undefeated. Only one will stay that way. Hale, the skip. And knocking down the 3 is David Stanley, number 3.
And there goes that, you know, penetrating the lane and finding your open shooters right there.
And with the quick answer is Latrell Love.
Reminds me a little bit of Karl Anthony Towns with that move.
Didn't know you were a Wolves fan.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, knowing Andrew Wiggins, you know, he used to come to our games a lot.
That's right, because didn't his sister come here, or doesn't her sister go to Hopkins? Or
both of his little sisters. They're a very nice family. I love his father and his mom, you know, very nice people.
I figured a few folks say the same thing about you.
Oh, I hope so.
And I don't tease, I actually have.
Oh, yeah, of course, of course.
No, you're a well-known figure, even though you're at Michigan State. You've got quite the fan club.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always nice to come back and give back to the community and, always, repping for Minnesota because, this is the best state around.
So are you saying one day you'd like to come back and wear a Lynx uniform?
I would hope so. That'd be an honor. Got 4 years to prepare myself for that one, though.
Well, that'll give you some time, so maybe the core will retire and then there'll be some slots open. Right now it's pretty tough to get in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of teams. Hopefully they'll, come up with some more teams in the upcoming years and, because there's a lot of great players that are going unnoticed, because there's only, 12 roster spots.
Exactly.
So I hope that it can further the league a little bit more and hopefully we're looking at a bright future for the WNBA.
Well, now that you mentioned Latrell Love, he kind of looks like he could be a relative of Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he looks exactly like him, if you ask me.
Last year, I actually confused Karl Anthony Towns with Jim Peterson's stepson, Sanjay Lumpkin, who just finished up his career at Northwestern.
They had a thriller game against Vanderbilt this year in the
NCAA
tournament. Yeah.
The first time Northwestern got to the tournament in school history.
I actually watched them play Minnesota with my dear friend Amir Coffey. I know that was a great tribute with his sister in the crowd as well, who just actually reached the WNBA.
And she'll be making her debut today.
Oh, yeah.
Against New York Liberty.
She made a great one. I think it was a practice game a couple weeks ago. She played very well. I mean, it was great playing alongside her, so I knew that she could do it in the first place.
How was it to play against her?
Oh, it was actually really funny because, in the game you're supposed to be very serious, and I happened to ended up guarding her the very first time I was in, and I tried not to say anything. She goes, "Hi, Nia." Hi. She didn't have the best game in the world. They still ended up pulling out the win. It was actually right after that tragic loss that they had on their team, but they came out very well. Northwestern's a very hard team to beat. You got Ashley Deary just poking at everything, whenever you're dribbling the ball, so. And if you're going inside, you got Nia Coffey, who's a great shot blocker and always has been. So it was very hard.
Foul is called. Terry Carter will go to the line. And if Ashley Deary taught us one thing, make sure you tie your shoes before you bring the ball up the court. that made the not top 10.
Yeah. That one was, we were watching that, we're like, why? How? Oh, the look on Joe's face was priceless, though. Their coach, priceless.
Terry Carter from East Central Community College. Averages just 5.3 a game. But as we noted, this is a team, as Carter splits, that's not afraid to get 6 or 7 players in double figures. There's Love. A couple of skip passes. Now Love has it again. He's trying to get the post-up move. Lunges forward. Finds Dawson. And Dawson can't float it in. That was Quentin Jackson, I should say.
I like that the refs are letting them play a little physical inside.
Anthony James missing the three-pointer. Ken Bass racing down. Shane Bosek with the finish. What do you make of this first quarter so far?
It's a very fast-paced game. It looks like they're both very intense teams, and I think they're both finding each other very well on the court. I think that the physicality it's up there, and I love the fact that the refs are letting them play. I haven't seen much of that this year.
Minnesota on the run. Bosek again, and he'll shoot 2. Shane Bosek, the 6'6", 200-pound forward. Bosek averaging 11 a game. He's a 72% free throw shooter.
is a personal foul.
And as we noted, the purpose of this league is to give some of these players a chance to land an overseas contract or get an offer from D-Leagues. There are a couple of players, Jason Sandiford told me, the head coach of Minnesota, that got D-League offers just from playing in these games.
I think it's nice that they have, great opportunities like this to, get those offers and, look at the D-League, look at the Pro League. You never know what great players are out there, that aren't in the league yet.
Andre Hicks scored the last basket for the Court Kings, and Latrell Love will shoot 2. Latrell Love went to Mississippi Valley State. Jason Sandiford says this guy has a lot of potential.
Yes, he does. I saw him play actually at Minnetonka before he graduated. And
oh, he's a Minnetonka grad.
Oh yeah, he's a very strong player, very strong.
Well, I suppose you get around when it comes to basketball.
Oh yeah, I mean, I try to watch everyone and support each and every one of them. Especially the people that are in my class. They've made a lot of noise, whether it's in football or basketball. Men's or women's. So, it's really nice to support everyone and also get that support back.
There's a lot of talent out in the West Metro. Latrell Love splits. Minnesota 6 of 8 unofficially from the free throw line. And they have pushed their lead up to 7, 26-19. Cedar Valley trying to answer. Three-pointer short. And that's going to be a foul on Minnesota. I believe they have one to give at least. The one thing I'm not certain at this level is how the fouls work. As you know, where you play, it's 4 fouls and then you go to the bonus.
And that can easily be a hassle.
There's still some coaches that miss the shoot 1 to earn 1 free throw rule.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it was like 2 right away. I was actually surprised by that for the first time this year.
Latrell Love, well, there's that strength that you were talking about.
Nice oopsie daisy shot.
Cedar Valley. Oh, nice recovery by Minnesota to deny the layup. And they end the first quarter with a 9-point lead, 28-19. So while we were chatting away, Minnesota was building up an advantage here. What was the secret?
It was getting everyone involved. I mean, you said it. They're not afraid to get a lot of people in double figures. And like I said, that's the key to a game. You get 3 or plus or more in double figures, and you're either going to win that game or it's going to be a very close one.
So there are a couple of points I wanted to get back to. We mentioned Ashley Deary and the blooper that will live on forever in Northwestern history. Have you had any moments of your own, high school or college, that you wish you could get rid of, so to speak?
That last championship, that's for sure. I didn't play the best. I don't know if I was out there nervous or what it was, but I mean, I really cherished the time that I had with my teammates. I cherished the time, playing against all these great players like Taylor Conan and Kiara Russell and Courtney Fredrickson. It's been an amazing ride, and especially to be able to play with, a legend like Nia Coffey was absolutely phenomenal. I learned so much from her, and I learned so much from Tori Jankowska this year. Aerial power. She'll come back here and there, and she'll, coach me up on the sidelines as we're practicing. And, it's just great to have those outlets and those opportunities ahead of me.
So I have to ask you this: did anyone fake you out this past year, Michigan State?
Did anyone fake me out?
Yes. Well, did any opponent pull a fake? He did at the All-Star game last year.
Kelsey Mitchell. We were actually, our game plan was to, keep her out on the three-point line, try to limit her shots inside, because she'll get there, she'll make the shot, she'll finish the shot through contact. And so, the first point of the game, she just came down, gave me a little shake, and in my head I was saying, oh God, I don't really want to guard her, but I don't have a choice. It's pick up in transition, and I thought she was going to go ahead and go to the basket, but she just kind of gave me an in and out and stepped back and shot the 3. My hand was in her face, but, she's Kelsey Mitchell. She's an amazing player, and she hit it. I just looked over at my coach. She just kind of shrugged her shoulders. What can you say?
Sometimes a good offense beats a good defense.
That is very, very true.
And speaking of offense, Damian Lawler continues to pile it on for the Rangers. They build their lead to 12. I think we were tied at 13, if I'm not mistaken. Unofficially, an 18-6 run. And Cedar Valley, who started this game on a 6-1 run, finds themselves struggling. And I think the big... Go ahead.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, though, I mean, the defensive part on Minnesota's part has been very, very dominant inside and also on the perimeter. You know, they've really locked down on them.
I was going to say the big difference now is Cedar Valley unable to penetrate inside it. I think you just talked about. And it helps when you're knocking down threes. Ken Bass scores. And all but one player from Minnesota who has stepped on the floor has now scored. But still a long way to go. Nobody's won this yet, especially with 12-minute quarters and the pace of this game. You can make that up in a hurry. The Core Kings trying to erase a 15-point deficit, and they finally get one to fall. Rajon Kelly hits the triple.
Looks like they need a couple more of those to fall, and they'll be right back in the game.
And as the saying goes, if you're in a shooting funk, the only way to get out of it is to keep shooting. But they leave a lane open, and Quinton Jackson gets his first basket. So all 9 players who have entered the floor for Minnesota have scored. Cedar Valley answers with a transition look. That's Andre Hicks. Don't blink or you're going to miss a play. That's how quick this game is going. Here's Latrell Love. Skips it back out to Jackson. Love. Nice fake. He baits Tyner into the foul, and I believe he'll shoot 2.
That's those pump fakes I was talking about. You get them when they're, you know, as long as they're coming down, you're going up. That's a foul being called every time.
And unlike James Harden, who, well, kind of baits himself or just, you know what I'm talking about, just setting himself up for the offensive fouls. That was a legitimate fake out.
I think he led the league in free throws being shot because of that, actually, which is very, very surprising. But, I mean, you know, you saw his last game against the Spurs. He didn't play like himself at all.
I don't think Houston played like themselves at all. I don't think it was just a Harden issue.
No, not at all.
But the San Antonio Spurs are always a tough out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a little surprising, though, because their best player was out, Kawhi Leonard, who has no expression to his face besides one. So
he's just like his coach.
Exactly. Greg Popovich is just like Gino Auriemma. You know, those are tough, intense coaches, but they know how to win championships.
I don't have the accolades that you do as a player, but as Andre Hicks scores, folks like Popovich, I look to them as role models because they know the game. They don't buy into some of the gimmicks. You know, they're not interested in that. So, very disciplined group, very consistent, and he's all about making his players better and being innovative in the process. As
not just better players, you know, better men, you know, on and off the court, which I think is, you know, a great thing that you can learn from a legendary coach like that.
Well, and locally speaking, Cheryl Reeve has done just that over here.
Oh, yeah, she has. I've saw her a couple times, you know, in the gym at Hopkins. You know, I know she pays attention to Paige Beckers, which
I think she noticed her at 6th grade. She's been scouting her since then.
Oh, yeah. You know, draft picked in 6th grade, right?
Well, and Paige just finished up her freshman year, so it'll be at least, 6-7 years before she's eligible?
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, I learned a lot from playing with Paige as well. I mean, even me being the older, you know, kid, she taught me a lot. You know, she has a lot of confidence. I'm really proud of her. I know she's getting a lot of great looks, and I know that she's going to continue to get better and grow as a player, a person, and a young lady, and I'm really happy for her. It's my little sister.
Meech Williams pulls up too strong. Hustling for the rebound is Bass, and he brings it home. And that should make the score 40-28, and it is.
Seems like Minnesota's taking over the rebounding battle here late in the second quarter.
And almost on cue, Cedar Valley gets an O-board and a putback and a chance at 3. This will be B.J. Walker from Oklahoma City University. And I believe that's Cedar Valley's first trip to the free throw line. So the Court Kings are slowly reeling in the margin. They trailed by as much as 15. It's now down to 9. Lott, bounce pass. And unable to put down the hook was Dawson. And Cedar Valley has a chance to further cut into this lead. Hicks to Tyner. They go inside again. Nothing doing.
That looked like that could have been a foul there.
As you noted, the officials letting some contact go by. And the Rangers getting a few cracks at it. Dawson airballs the 3. Cedar Valley on the run. Here comes Dylan Hale. And he draws the blocking foul. And they don't have the restricted zone marked on this floor, but I have to imagine the officials who have some experience calling college basketball envision where it would be.
Oh yeah, I mean that was actually a new thing for me to learn this year is the restricted zone, and taking a lot of charges. I saw a lot of charges being taken this year in college basketball, and that actually changes the game a lot.
Well, the game might change a little further next year. The Rules Committee has proposed extending the restricted zone to 4 feet, which would match the NBA and WNBA.
Oh, okay, that'd be a nice addition. Let's see, but I mean, until I'm the one being called for a charge, don't get the call necessarily because I'm not in the restricted zone. That'll end up hindering me a little bit.
Well, and I think the idea behind that, and the WNBA, I think, went to this as well, just extending the zone. Gives you a little more space because with 3 feet, it can still get pretty crowded in the lane, and the last thing you want is to have people stepping over each other because that's where some injuries can occur.
Oh, very much so, and we're doing our best to prevent all that as well.
I mean, there's more to it than that, but it helps space the floor out so you don't have 5 bodies down there. Minnesota won't need that many as Rochester Rogers gets another fast break bucket. And a timeout is called by Cedar Valley with 6:55 left. And going back to the conversation about several players you grew up watching, selfishly speaking, there's one who I still wish was here in Chrissy Carr.
Oh, yeah, I hear she's doing really great over in Manhattan, Kansas.
She won a state title down there.
Yeah, second one in a row. I congratulated her on that one. I hear she committed to Kansas State. So,
yep,
I'm really
where her
proud
father
of her.
works.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, and they have a very great up-and-coming program as well. I see, I think her name is Kit Tree. She won the three-point contest against actually Tori Jankowska. So that was really cool to see. She actually beat all the boys as well. Peter Jock in the final.
Look out, Kelsey Plum.
Yeah, exactly. Kelsey Plum has had an amazing career, an amazing senior season. And I'm excited to see how she changes the WNBA as a young player.
Well, her start is somewhat delayed. She's still recovering from her ankle sprain, so she was unable to play today against New York. But you may have seen this. She threw a little salt over at Markelle Fultz.
Oh, yeah.
There was the Bleacher Report story, and then Markelle and Kelsey Plum, they got to know each other quite well, so they're good friends. And as good friends will do, they will tease each other.
Oh, hopefully, yeah, and hopefully become both, number 1 draft picks out of Washington, which I think.
Well, Markelle's not a number 1 just yet.
He might be. I mean,
I'm just saying the draft hasn't happened yet, so I don't want to call him a number 1 until.
Sure, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Well, not so much jinx it, it's that we don't know who the number 1 pick's going to be yet. He's got a pretty good chance, but I know what you're saying. They're 2 outstanding players who are going to do big things.
Here she threw a little shade at the Ball family as well there, too.
Well, speaking of that Ball, was it you're referencing Lonzo Ball? Or?
Oh, yep, Lonzo Ball. Would you buy his shoes for $495?
I told an old friend of yours, Tia Albert, that Lonzo needs to get in touch with her because she could give him a few pointers on how to market shoes effectively.
She's got great shoes. I've tried to get a couple shoes off of her as well, but we don't wear the same size.
I'm sure if you talk to her, she could work something out.
For sure. Tia is actually the first person to teach me how to shoot a layup the correct way. So I've learned from a lot of players along the line. She had a great graduating class as well, and I'll be playing against her next year for Indiana and Michigan State.
Well, Dylan Hale splits. I'm afraid that won't be happening because Tia Elbert has decided to forego her eligibility.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay. Well, I mean, I hope the best for her success in the world. I mean, you know, she was great. Ooh,
Whoa!
very good block.
While we're reminiscing, Raheem Tyner doesn't care about our storytelling. He just wants to swat it away. But I did speak to Tia about it, and she said she still has 2 years of eligibility, so if she finds another school, that would be an option.
Okay.
And Dominique Dawson knocks down the long deuce. And that's always good to see after you get a big block like that.
Of course. Especially on your route to coming back as well. As we have a score of 46-32.
There's B.J. Walker over to Raheem Tyner. Tyner in trouble, so he skips it over to Stanley. Nice ball movement. And beating the shot clock is Dylan Hale for the 3. That's what I call good ball movement under pressure. And Hale with a strip. Stanley, full head of steam, puts on the brakes. Hale again. Oh, in and out. Walker with the rebound, and he draws contact, so he'll shoot 2.
As you see, you know, it's slowly starting to be a momentum change over to Cedar King's, you know, side of the court, and you know, with the 3 that they hit and the big block down there, hopefully they can make this a successful run.
This is the first of 3 regular season meetings for these 2 teams. Cedar Valley will actually come back here in 8 days to face Minnesota. As B.J. Walker, who doesn't have a lot of reps yet from the free throw line, tries to pad his numbers. This group highly unselfish, in the words of their coaching staff. And you could say that about both sides, actually.
Yeah, they've moved the ball pretty well, I think, as both teams. You know, especially, you know, transition is very important. I think that they both got some really great transition looks.
Nobody has scored more than 7 for either side. And again, that is partially due to how unselfish these 2 teams play. Everybody's a threat. Charge is called. And Rochester Rogers got himself set in time. And meanwhile, Meach Williams is speaking with another official. I think he thought he was fouled on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see players step in there and take a charge as well. You don't see most of that in, you know, highly professional men's basketball. You know, they always go for the big block. So, you know, like I said, it comes down to every possession, and that's a very important one for them.
Oh, that's going to be a traveling violation. Good defense on Cedar Valley there, but I was going to say charge is one way to get a stop.
Yeah, that's true. You get the ball back.
And you get a foul on the other opponent. So you get the stop, and then you add another foul to your opponent's tally.
Oh, yeah. Kyle's always encouraged us to take charges. I just never really knew how to do it.
Well, if you're looking to learn how to take a charge as Minnesota gets a steal, I've got a recommendation for you. As Rogers puts down the reverse.
Tim Lott being their leading scorer, he's playing very well for them today.
But if you're looking how to take a charge, you might want to have a word with Elise Moore from Maranatha. They were a Class A school as Cedar Valley knocks down another 3, so the Court Kings are starting to find their stroke from the arc. And it's a 9-point margin again. 4:08 left in the second quarter. And the shot clock really hasn't come into effect. Rogers, he walked. Once again, good defense down low by the Court Kings. But Elise Moore, I don't know if you remember the name or not. I covered a few Maranatha games this past year, and even when she got 4 fouls, she was not afraid to take charges.
You know, you always love a player like that, you know, always willing to put their body out there on the line. You know, that shows great, you know, leadership, and, you know, it shows that, you know, her teammates are important to her.
So if you want to know how to pick up a charge, I'd say send her a tweet. Maybe she can show you. Minnesota gets the stop, and they turn it into points. Bosak looking to do just that. Bullseye.
He's almost got a shot like Dirk Nowitzki. It's high up there, very high arc. You know, a lot of rotation on the ball. It's going to go in every time.
That's one way to stop a shot blocker. There's Alex Houston. We haven't mentioned his name in a while, and he'll go to the line for 2 after drawing the foul, getting Latrell Love out of position. So Cedar Valley doing a good job getting to the free throw line, but they're having trouble reeling in this margin. I don't think they've been closer than 9.
Nope, they haven't. I think it's really important down the stretch, you know, coming up on the second half here to really get stops, and especially getting the stops inside and stopping the penetration from happening.
Houston gets the front end to fall. Alex Houston, averaging 13.7 a game, 66% free throw shooter. And he splits there. 3 minutes, 13 seconds left in the second. Minnesota loses control and loses the ball. Kelly bounces out, Hicks for 3, and that rims out. Bosick with the rebound. Looking for help, but he finds it. And here comes Jackson. Spin move, but he can't put down the mid-range shot. Cedar Valley, 2-on-2. Now 3-on-2. And Minnesota with the strip. Now that takes some guts to stop a high-flying charger, as Anthony James was doing. We had a Super Ball bounce right by us. I once called a game where I think they had to stop play because a Super Ball went on the floor.
Well, that would have been a first right there.
Oh, there have been some strange things. I've come across a lot of interesting details. There was another game, as Damian Lillard goes back to the line. Another game, well, you remember Lachey Holt, who now holds a scoring record at St. Kate's. Back in high school, there was a game I happened to call where she was diving for a loose ball and collided with the pedestal or box, whatever you want to call it, that was holding up the water cooler. So she spilled water all over the floor, and play had to stop for 5 minutes to clean it up.
It sounds like a Lachey thing she'd do.
She calls it the most embarrassing moment of her playing career.
I saw her play a few times my junior year, and you know, she's a very high-end player, and she works very hard, you know, on the defensive end especially.
That's a goaltend, so count the basket for Cedar Valley. Andre Hicks will get credit for it. You're not going to fault Minnesota for trying to get the stop. It just came in a little too late.
I thought that might have been a very good block. I don't think that hit rim.
It didn't hit rim, but once the ball starts going down, then it's a goaltend. So it doesn't have to get into the rim. It just has to be on its downward trajectory.
Very nice footwork. Just didn't go in.
Well, we've had to bring in some extra seats, apparently. Less than 2 minutes to play in the second quarter. And the Core Kings trying to get a little bit of momentum before halftime. And from the looks of it, I'd say Minnesota is not happy about the call. And that's because they got hit with a foul, and Cedar Valley in the bonus, so free throws coming for the Core Kings.
Core Kings must be playing pretty good defense. I mean, they've only got 2 fouls up on the board to Minnesota's 7, so I hope they can keep that up for the rest of the second half.
They've been playing a more disciplined game in the second quarter after getting hit with a few fouls early. But free throws are having a difficult time here.
Alex Houston splits a pair.
Love draws the push foul on Cedar Valley. They had a couple to give. Well, this is a good sign when you have an overflow crowd here. This is a small gym, but they had to bring in some extra seats for some of the latecomers who came in. So there's a few folks interested in seeing what these two teams can do. Anthony James gets his own rebound and puts it in. And in terms of momentum, I think that's a basket the Court Kings needed right there.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming down in the last minute here, so hopefully they can come up with a few more baskets, close down this lead.
And now the deficit is 6. They've been stuck at 9 for a while, and now that you got past that hump, they're looking to keep going, and that's what James does.
Oh.
Look out.
And there's that momentum change you just mentioned.
I thought the ball was going to come over here for a second.
Don't worry, I would have caught it.
Oh, that's all right. You're a Miss Basketball. You've got good reflexes. But Anthony James, with a mix of speed and second chance opportunities, has brought the deficit down to 4. Minnesota led by 15 early in this period. And they get a basket thanks to Quentin Jackson. Now we have a stoppage in play. Delay of game, perhaps? Or did we have a foul call?
I think it might have been after the basketball went through the hoop. Minnesota had touched it, moved
and that would
the
be
ball.
delay of game.
Yeah.
So as you know, once you score, you can't touch the ball. Even if it's to help the other team. Houston missing the three-pointer. Scramble for the rebound. Last touch by Minnesota, so Cedar Valley with a 3 here can make this a one-possession game, and they can effectively run out the clock. We have a 2-second difference, shot clock to game clock. Well, now they reset it, so they're virtually identical. So Cedar Valley can hold it if they wish, but they're not going to, and not when you've got Terry Carter open down low. Sometimes you have to throw clock management out the window when you get a bucket like that.
Yes, you do.
Minnesota looks like they're going to hold for one more shot. Or not. Latrell Love scores.
It's a very good look, no-look pass as well.
Good if it goes. Well, that was close. But Cedar Valley does get a little bit of momentum. They trail by 15, and now the margin, I believe, is 6, 55-49. As we have a battle of 2 undefeated teams in the Midwest Basketball League, with the Minnesota Rangers taking on the defending champion, Cedar Valley Court Kings. Nia, before we go to break, what do you make of this first half, and what adjustments should we be looking for?
It was a very fast-paced first half, first of all. Their Minnesota Rangers leading scorer, Tim Lott, wasn't in the game much at all. But, I think that his teammates, picked up the slack very well, and, hopefully that they can close out this win. But on Cedar Valley's end, it's very important for them to lock down on defense, on the inside, and, not letting them get as many open buckets as they have been.
So we'll take a break and come back in a few minutes. You're watching the Midwest Basketball League. Minnesota leads Cedar Valley 55-49. And we rejoin you here at the highest school for recording arts in St. Paul. But no music today, but we've had plenty of talented instruments in terms of basketball players. Mike Beaton and Nia Holly with you as the Minnesota Rangers and Cedar Valley Court Kings battle to determine who will remain the lone undefeated team. Now, they did change the score, so it's 53-49. That's what we'll go with as we get ready to start the second half. Nobody has more than 9 points for either team. That's not something you get too often, even at the pro level.
Yeah, that's true. That just means that both teams are, sharing the basketball very equally among each other, and obviously they can find each other very easily on the court. That I've seen here, a very fast-paced game going on, and so hopefully, this game can get even more closer and even more interesting coming up on the second half here.
Unofficially for Cedar Valley, 3 players have 8 points. Andre Hicks, Rajon Kelly, and Anthony James. Those are your leaders, and for Minnesota, you have a pair of 9s in Latrell Love and Shane Bosick, and Rochester Rogers has 7. So we've had some ebb and flow. Cedar Valley got off to that quick 6-1 start. Minnesota built a 15-point lead early in the second. Core Kings have brought it back to within 4. What is the second half going to come down to?
This is going to come down to defense and, making free throws. I noted that, the first half, Minnesota was at the line a lot. In the second quarter, Cedar Valley was at the line a lot. And, both teams have split a pair of free throws equal amongst each other. So, it's going to come down to playing great defense and who can make the most free throws.
So as we get ready to start the second half, I know we've been sharing a lot of stories, but, with your first year at Michigan State complete, what do you make of the college experience, and how much fun has it been for you? Because I know you were excited to go to Michigan State, dealt with a little bit of flack from some knuckleheads who...
It was...
we won't get into that, no. But you enjoyed yourself?
Oh, of course. I mean, it was very fun. It was, nice to get away from home for a while. I'm not too far away from Minnesota, just a 10-hour drive, but also just a 1-hour flight. And, the basketball part of it, the very first practice, you can ask Susie, all of us freshmen were like, what did we get ourselves into? The basketball courts are larger. You've got a shot clock. You've got, different things to the game. And actually what I ended up doing, I ended up playing the 4 spot, which was different because, girls are huge in college and everyone is good in college. So it was different to get used to. But once, I got the hang of it and, just came into my own as a player and as a freshman, just trying to learn as much as possible from the veterans, it became a little bit more easier every day.
Well, here's what I want you to do. Next year, I want you to get the All Big Ten First Team Award. Okay. At least that.
Okay.
Player of the Year, I don't, that might be a bit excessive.
Yeah,
that's not to say you can't do it, but can you get on that first team for me?
I'm going to try. That's a challenge. I'm always up for a challenge. We'll get started. Minnesota has the first possession here, so we'll see how they can. First shot off the mark.
That was from Rochester Rogers. Rochester leads the team in scoring at 24 a game, and for Cedar Valley, no 20-point scores, but they've got 6 double-digit scores. And hitting the baseline deuce is Alex Houston, and that makes it a 2-point game.
He's came up pretty big for them in the stretch here.
And then that late run in the second quarter for Cedar Valley is unable to put down the layup. Oh, we've got a scramble for the ball. It's won by the Rangers. Good anticipation. Rajon Kelly recovers. The skip. James for 3. Yes!
That's important, that extra pass, as they make their first lead here.
You can never have too many good passers. And that's a jump ball. And at this level, when we have a jump ball, we actually jump for it.
That'd be interesting to add, actually, to the women's part of the game.
I'd like to see that at the high school level, too. I know not everybody can jump, but the possession arrow, it adds a little intrigue, but sometimes it can be anticlimactic as well.
Right.
And are we going to have a do-over? Nope, Minnesota's going to have a side out instead. Well, jump ball was not proposed this year as a rule change. The restricted zone. The other notable change that they proposed is allowing teams to carry, as Dominique Dawson draws the foul shoot too, allowing teams to carry all 4 timeouts to the second half. As you know, if you don't use one of them by the first half, then that one is lost.
Yeah, that's true. Timeouts are very important, especially down in the stretch of games, especially the close ones. Trying to limit the amount of timeouts you use. You get media timeouts, but sometimes those things can take forever to come.
Right, it feels like it takes a while because you have to get past the 5-minute mark, and then you have to get a stoppage.
Yep, and you're just running and running. You're just waiting, for someone to foul or, the ball to go out of bounds. Just catch your breath and take a minute and, recuperate.
And sometimes it doesn't come.
Exactly.
But I'm hoping they put that in because it often produces some anticlimactic moments, especially in the first half, because you're not really worried about strategy. If a team goes up big, then you have to take what seems like an arbitrary timeout that you really don't need.
And it's easy, a timeout, stops a team's run very much so. So, I mean, I think that would be a great addition to the league is, bringing over those timeouts.
So what did you make of playing in quarters? Because we haven't had that in a while.
That was really weird for me, honestly. I mean, it was a couple times that it was actually the second quarter. I'm like, is this the second half? Is the game almost over? And they're like, no, we haven't even went into halftime yet. So that was definitely a different change. I think that it's important for that to be added into college sports for the men's side as well. It makes the game seem a little bit longer, but it's also kind of easier to play by quarters rather than halves.
Minnesota leads by 1. Cedar Valley looking to retake it. And they will on the drive. Raheem Tyner goes up to 4 points. Look at Minnesota attacking the glass. They've had, 4 or 5 shots at it? Now they fired the 3, and that's short. And that's a foul. It's one you can forgive, although Quentin Jackson put in a hard one on Anthony James. But if you don't foul him right there, you're looking at a fast break.
Yeah, I mean, for them to go up another 2 points, that would have been a hard one on them. I mean, but, the amount of rebounds that they just got, they had to be a little bit tired, only jumping in the air.
Anthony James is feeling it. He's up to 14. And Cedar Valley goes back up by 4. On Minnesota's last possession, that has to be frustrating where you got 5 offensive rebounds and nothing to show for it. And then a careless turnover to boot.
Those are very important possessions here. And, hopefully they can redeem themselves a little bit.
And even with a fast-paced game like you get here at the Midwest Basketball League, even with a shot clock, the last thing you want is an unforced turnover. You can live with it if your defender did a good job on you, but throwing the ball away like that, that's going to leave you shaking your head. And Cedar Valley turns it into 2. Andre Hicks lays it in.
It's a walk-in basket right there.
I'm sure you love it when you get one of those, right?
Oh, those are the best things that happen in the games. You don't get much of them.
You don't get too many freebies, no matter the level.
Of course not.
So you want to take advantage when they come. James, side fade. No good, and throwing it up was Raheem Tyner. I think he was trying to draw the foul there, but to no avail. Live. A collision and a blocking foul. It's tough to tell because we've got a row of seats in front of me. It looked like Anthony James. I don't think he was set.
But he did show a little bit of his basketball IQ down there with that great pump fake and the side step. That would have went in, that would have changed the entire momentum for the game.
Well, they say the pump fake only works every single time. Your old buddy Courtney could attest to that.
That's true. She got me good on one of them. They got great pictures of it, too.
I think we have one of them on video. James again. Can't bank it. Rebound Dawson. Live.
Good pass.
Oh, well. Dawson was there for the cleanup. I thought Lott was going to leave a layup empty there, but nice follow through by Dawson.
Minnesota's all over the boards right now.
4-point game.
As you hear the defense chants coming in, this game is about to get real good.
And there's an offensive rebound for Cedar Valley. Andre Hicks will reset things for the Court Kings. And he's going to be poked away. No backcourt because it was deflected. And that's going to leave it open. Dunk for B.J. Walker. A fortuitous series of events for the Court Kings. Now they try to apply the defense. And an offensive foul is called on Minnesota.
Cedar Valley is completely taking control of this second half here.
And look at the bench. The Court Kings jubilant, to say the least.
It's amazing what can happen when you're playing great basketball. You got the crowd into it, your teammates are into it, and you're making shots.
And a technical foul was called. So free throws are coming for Andre Hicks.
Got the friendly roll in there too.
Just one free throw and possession. I forget, this is pro ball. Because in high school and college, it's a little different.
It's 2 shots and possession, right?
It is, and technicals also count as personals.
Ooh, I didn't know that one. Wow.
I've known that one for a while. I've called a couple of games in high school where a player fouled out because they were hit with a technical. So you really want to be careful at that level. And Cedar Valley draws another foul, so they'll get more free throws. This time it will be Rajon Kelly. Rajon with 8 points.
It's getting a little chippy here as well.
And now I wonder if it continues to be this way, if you'll see the officials exert a little more control. And I've seen that happen. Because officials like to let them play and let the players decide it for themselves. But if it gets out of hand, then they'll step in and say, all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to see. Otherwise, you'll see more and more technicals being called as well.
That's never happened to you, right?
I've had a couple in my day.
You, of all people?
Just a couple.
Did you punch someone in the face or something?
Oh, no. I don't think it's ever gotten to that point. But, I mean, when you're playing, you're having fun, it's an intense and close game. It's very easy to, talk and, yell at each other and, egg each other on a little bit. Just a little fun, I guess.
Well, that's all right. You've got a long way to go to catch Dinah Tarazi in that category.
That is true.
Cedar Valley up by 9, and that's not to say anything ill of DT. She's one of the best players out there, but some folks just bring that level of intensity. And in the case of Diana, she's one of the most intense players I've ever seen, but in the locker room, one of the most approachable.
Oh, yeah.
So she knows how to bring it on the court and leave it on the court.
Some players you need like that on your team, though, that brings that type of energy, that type of, dog in them, that have that absolute lion of a heart. I would actually say that that's a Tori for sure. She'll get after you. She won't hesitate, but she's like an amazing person. She's very approachable. She's very helpful in every aspect of the game.
Dominique Dawson with the left-handed J.
It's almost like Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett, Kelsey Plum, we were talking about her earlier. I think she's a lefty.
Oh, yeah.
Love, spin move, he comes up short. Left-handers are in short supply. Well, Minnesota gets a second chance basket there. Meach Williams, he's up to 5 points now, and Minnesota showing some life here.
Despite the basket, I think it's really important for them to be able to utilize the shot clock coming up here. We mentioned, in the first quarter that they took a lot of long shots, and I see that happening once again here in the opening quarter.
B.J. Walker off the mark and a dead ball rebound to Minnesota. So another stop and another opportunity for Minnesota to rally back. And ebb and flow continues to be the theme of this game. But with two teams at 6-0 records, the finalists in last year's championship, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Love, no good. Rebound Carter. Here comes Hale. He finds Carter on the run. Goodbye.
There goes that use of, your teammates and passing the ball, making that extra pass for the easy layup in transition.
And when you have a bevy of capable teammates, as both teams do, that gives you a lot of options to work with.
It's a careless turnover. Behind the back pass, just make the easy pass. I used to get that a lot in high school. Just make the easy pass. You like to look classy sometimes, though. I understand.
And sometimes I've talked to a lot of coaches who said you can draw up plays, but you can't make the players execute the way you want them to. It's up to them to apply it. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's all right.
Sometimes plays break down. You got to know what to do when that happens.
But on that last sequence for Minnesota reminded me, a couple of years ago I covered a Minneapolis North girls game. It was overtime. They were playing Legacy Christian. Had a good chance to win it and had an opportunity to take the lead late, but their point guard went behind the back when all she needed to do was just throw a simple bounce pass. Ball goes out of bounds, and the North coaching staff looked at her like, what are you doing?
Those are one of the passes.
They still have
that just
nightmares about it.
It keeps you up at night. You're just like, did I really do that? I understand those ones too.
Rajon Kelly went to Samford U and then Angelo State. 24 years old, splits there. And the Court Kings up by 8, their largest lead of the game. Minnesota again, they turn it over. Having some trouble with the passing game now, and Cedar Valley coughs it up. And that will be a foul on the Court Kings. Ken Bass went at the basket full speed, and it's tough to set yourself up for a charge when you've got a player barreling down at 88 miles an hour.
This is what I like to call video game basketball.
Video game basketball. Speaking of, there's rumors that the WNBA could end up in the next EA NBA Live game.
That would be amazing. An amazing thing to add for the WNBA, as well as we look for a bright future up and coming here. Adding more teams as well. So
I was going to say, if they had that, you would race it. You would buy that up in a hurry, right?
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Who would you play as? Well, that's right. You play as a team, so you couldn't be one player, but.
I'm always
who would you like to
Minnesota.
play?
Always repping Minnesota.
So what are you doing in Michigan?
Try.
I had to rib you a little bit.
Might add a my player. It might be my first time being in the league. In a game rather than actually in the league.
Lawler makes both free throws. You knew I had to razz you a little bit about going away to Michigan, leaving all of us here to fend for ourselves.
Yeah, it was great to see you though on the way back here. Playing Minnesota at home. Oh, the nice steal.
Lawler gets the friendly bounce, and now it's a 4-point game again. So you would play Minnesota if there's a WNBA game. You would play as the Lynx.
Oh, absolutely.
Rajon Kelly scores on the other end, and I don't blame you for that choice because who wouldn't want to play as Maya Moore?
Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, even Lindsay Whalen. You got Cheryl Reeves as a coach. It's an all-star team right there.
And that ball almost touched the ceiling. Bass comes up with it and
player on the
scores.
court comes up with the steal right out of the air.
He literally caught that one out of thin air. I've never seen.
Ball went all the way up to the rafters.
And it didn't touch the rafters. Had it touched any part of the ceiling, the play would have stopped. But give credit for Bass for being heads up about that. Recognizing that ball's still live. We have a foul on Minnesota. So going to the line is Rajon Kelly. But I've never seen a score like that at any level.
Never.
And I know where you played, the Breslin Center, you've got a pretty high ceiling, so that ball can go up a ways without touching anything, but still.
There's actually a play where Tori was on the ground and she was hustling for a jump ball, and she got it. She threw it behind her head, like in the air, because she saw me, and I caught it. And I laid it with my left hand, but I got the foul call, but I didn't make the shot. But that was pretty close. He made the shot. Got to mention the hustle though. That was an amazing save.
Rajon Kelly makes both free throws on the other end for Cedar Valley, so it's a 6-point margin. Minnesota refuses to quit, and they have a chance at 3. And if there's anything I've learned from this game, I understand why these two played in the championship last year. It doesn't matter how big their deficit is, they keep fighting. They don't let a deficit snowball, mentally speaking.
It's all about hustle and heart. Damian Lillard came up really huge for Minnesota here in the stretch.
Damian Lillard?
Damian Lillard.
Oh,
it sounds a lot like it, though.
I thought you said Lillard. I'm like, wait a minute. He's with Portland there. But I get...
It'd be great to have him on this team, right?
Well, it was like the year that you and, as I'd like to call the other Nia, played together, as knocking down the mid-range Jay is Andre Hicks. I'm sure there was a little bit of confusion between you two.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Kaz actually ended up shortening my name as if it wasn't already 3 letters. You know, he'd call me Nee, and I'm like, so 2 letters, all right. I can roll with that.
Well, as long as it didn't give you 4 letters.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
You don't see that often. Alex Houston faked the drive, pulls up and scores. And now the offense really picking up here in this third quarter. 1:35 to go. Well, as much as these teams like to score, James Sandiford told me the better defensive team might win today. And look at that little shimmy by Damian Luller.
As he hits the 3, he put on a little dribbling show as well there.
Knocks down a 3-pointer and then shows off a little dance move. 1:15 to go, 1 possession game. But we still have another quarter to play, an eternity in basketball time, and with the answer is Alex Houston.
Like I said, Alex Houston came up really huge for Cedar Valley coming up here.
4 players in double digits for the Court Kings. Lola again short, rebound, but coming up soft on the putback was Lott. And the Court Kings can extend the lead again. Hicks looking to do just that. Oh, I thought that was going in.
Fearless passes right there.
And an easy bucket's going to come for Alex Houston. Minnesota tried to get a little fancy, and it cost them. Loler hesitates. What do they tell you? If you're open, you don't hesitate to shoot the ball?
I mean, he was open. He had enough time to, you know, make tea and go have dinner and come back.
He had enough time to tie his shoe.
Literally.
We're sorry, Ashley Deary, if you're watching this. Cedar Valley can hold for the final shot. They lead by 8, looking to make it 10. They cannot. Love has it. Loler, can he beat the clock?
And he does.
Yes, the officials will count it. That was close, but the officials said Loler released it before the buzzer. So we're going to go with that. 82-76 to score. That third quarter, let's just say this game is starting to get a little fun here, if I can ever spit it out.
It's interesting, honestly. I mean, you know, like I said, you know, you make free throws, you grab rebounds, you play defense, and it'll be a close game. You know, I know that Minnesota has a lot of players in double figures, or in figures as well. You know, all of their players have scored, and, you know, Cedar Valley has come up with, you know, really huge scores from a lot of their key players as well. And so hopefully this fourth quarter gets just as interesting as the third.
4 players in double digits for Cedar Valley, led by Rajon Kelly with 15, Anthony James with 14. These are unofficial. Andre Hicks with 13. Same for Alex Houston. For Minnesota, Damian Loler, 16 off the bench. Dominique Dawson with 12. Latrell Love with 11. So when it comes down to this final quarter, you've got a lot of options both ways. So as we said, this is an eternity in basketball time.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, especially with that last minute or 2 minutes coming up, you know, in the last fourth quarter will be the most important. So hopefully, you know, actually this opening is going to be the most important for this group, this game. And hopefully they can come back. You know, Minnesota led majority of this game, so it's pretty surprising to see Cedar Valley kind of take that lead. And, you know, hopefully they're looking to further that even more.
So we've been teasing Michigan State throughout this game. Who's going to come in next year? Who should we be looking for while we're at this stoppage for a brief award ceremony? Because now you're no longer one of those coveted recruits, but I imagine you've got some pretty good talent coming in.
We've got Claire Hendrickson. She's from Michigan as well, but we've also got Sydney Cooks. I played against her for, you know, years on end. You know, she played for ABC Knights. She also played for North Tartan, and she's now a McDonald's All-American. She's played on the USA team, and I remember speaking to her at the USA camp last year, like, hey, you know, where are you looking to come? And she said Michigan State was her first option. I said, hey, it'd be an amazing year when we get you. And so she came actually up for a visit last year, and I was actually her host, me and Mardrika Cook, one of the other fellow freshmen, and, you know, right on spot she committed, which was an amazing get for us, and hopefully we will be a great team next year. We're looking to be actually amazing. With her coming in, you know, it just adds a lot of depth inside. She can shoot from the inside and the outside. You know, it's going to be a great year for Michigan State basketball.
And a Big Ten that's up for grabs after Destiny Slocum transferred from Maryland to Oregon State. Now that surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that that's where she was committed to originally, I believe.
And then she got homesick, which can happen.
Very much so, definitely.
And even though folks have been talking about all the transfers that have taken place in the last couple of years, as Raheem Tyner scores, I go back to what I say when players make their college choice. Ultimately, they have to accept the consequences of their decisions, and if they feel a change is needed, then they can go for it.
Despite the amazing year she had, I mean, that was definitely great to play
National Freshman of the Year.
Right. It was great to play against her, though. She has a long-range shot. She's very smart on the court. Maryland's a very good team. And luckily, I got some huge minutes in that game, and my coach gave me a chance. My teammates gave me a chance. And, I mean, we almost came out with that win both times.
Maryland's been a tough out since they came to the Big Ten, so don't feel bad. You're not the only one who is getting sick of Maryland.
Yeah, they'll also be in their rebuilding process as well, too. I mean, I know they have some great freshmen coming in as well for next year, but we're looking to be that dominant team in the top, at least the top 2, top 3, but hopefully, the number 1 team in the league next year.
Bosick splits at the line. And then Ohio State had a lot of transfers as well, so 14 players actually have transferred or resigned during the offseason. Lott misses the three-pointer. So while everyone is wondering what does that mean for the Big Ten, I mean, that's going to leave that conference wide open. And for folks who like to give them a hard time, Nia Coffey was a first-rounder. I think there are a couple of other first-rounders. Yeah, Tori. I almost forgot Tori. If that happened, you would have kicked me out.
I mean, it leaves the Big Ten wide open, but, you see
and
time
then,
and time again.
Brianna Jones and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, I believe, are first-rounders too.
First-rounders right there. But, I mean, you see time and time again that the Big Ten turns around their entire year, once the national tournament comes around. And, they surprise all of the teams, like especially even in men's basketball. You got Wisconsin with being the huge surprise every year for the past, 5 years maybe. Maryland, Minnesota, made a huge jump with Amir Coffey. And, that was a really great get for their program as well. So I think the Big Ten will end up being
one of your
hands.
buddies, I think, is over there now.
Oh, yeah.
Amir Coffey, I had a chance to see him a couple of times, so he was fun to watch.
He's grown a lot as a player and as a person as well. That dude is huge.
He had a couple of sisters to learn from.
Oh, that's true.
And not to mention his dad.
Yeah, Richard Coffey. He's a good guy. Very good guy.
We have a foul on Minnesota. It's a 5-point game, 10-16 left in the fourth quarter. And this is what happens when you bring in a Miss Basketball and Big Ten player. We start talking about the history of basketball. And that's what these two teams are looking to do, whether it's in the D-League overseas or maybe, who knows, someone might have an offer for the NBA. You got to start somewhere, and this is a great way to do it.
You never start at the top, but, you can definitely make your way there.
What did Drake say? Started at the bottom, not the whole team here? Something like that.
Almost there. That was a good one.
I think he still has some really big rings somewhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And
it's definitely been a lot of people's Instagram captions, so.
Well, you've got a couple, don't you? Yeah, from Hopkins. I'm sure you've got a couple of really big rings hiding in your bedroom somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
And I'll show myself out. We've got a bit of a skirmish here in a battle for possession, and it will go to Minnesota. This is still a close game. Cedar Valley's held the upper hand for the second half, and now the officials are having a discussion. And Cedar Valley trying to figure out what's going on. I think they're trying to figure out if a timeout was issued before the ball went out of bounds. And based on the reaction, they do give the timeout to Cedar Valley, and I think just about everybody in Minnesota was surprised. Let's put it that way.
It's getting a little heated here.
Well, it's a 6-point game, again, defending champions against the runner-up. So even though these teams haven't been around for long, they already have a history. And that adds a little bit of emotion, as we talked about earlier.
You love to see that in a game. You hate to watch a game that's very emotionless. So, I love the fact that both teams are very into it and, want to win this game.
Speaking of emotions, our camera operator's into it as well. You just missed it, but she was strutting her stuff just a little bit ago. Well, there she goes.
Hey, you got Drake playing over there. I would be too.
So if a professional career doesn't work out, would you consider being a brand ambassador for a team, the way Drake is for Toronto?
Of course, why not? You get one life, live it the way you want to, right? Dib and dab and a little bit of everything.
So with this timeout, I think you've talked about a lot of players, and you and I happen to know a few of them. Who's your favorite to play alongside, and maybe who is your favorite to go against at this level, high school or AAU? Because you got to meet up with a lot of great and talented people.
Favorite to play along with or play against? That's hard. That is really tough. I mean, especially, that freshman college year, I played against some great players. There's some stuff I see and I was like, wow. I didn't know that you can do that in basketball. I'm going to have to think about that.
Just wait till you get to the W.
Exactly.
If you are so lucky enough.
Can't be too biased, right?
Raheem Tyner scores. Oh, just saying, there's some great players out there, and Lott cleans it up. We have some great athletes here, too. 87-81. And what impresses me most is how balanced these teams are. And again, it's a semi-pro. You won't always get this at higher level games, but you've got a lot of great players top to bottom, and they just keep going.
And for that to be a 3-on-1 transition, that was a great stop.
That was Andre Hooks who got the strip. It will stay with Minnesota, but for the moment, that stops a basket. Bass. Oh, nice feed inside for Lott.
Very pretty pass in the air.
That was a great fake to draw the double, and Lott was open down low. Like I said before, I love good passers.
Yeah, my coach always says, in order to be a great shooter or a great passer, you have to be a great shooter, so shoot the ball. And that's something that both teams have done very well. So, I mean, making that extra pass when, you catch the defense in the air, just, staring is great. It's great IQ, great basketball vision. Saw a little bit of that in Tyus Jones.
And his little brother Trey.
Yeah, they've been coming up big. They just got great basketball genes, though.
And they've got a sister. I actually ran into their sister at a camp that Taylor Hill hosted a couple years ago. So there's going to be another one for Apple Valley.
Just hitting the women's basketball scene, huh?
Well, and Apple Valley's been coming up too as Raheem Tyner knocks down the three. So if your last name is Jones, there's a good chance you'll find your way. I've got a feeling Trey's been getting some offers at D1 schools, and maybe he'll follow his brother Tyus. I don't know if he'll go to the Wolves, but we've got a foul on Cedar Valley.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and you have, and as I recall, you have some bloodlines with some pretty talented players yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cousins with the Johnsons, Tyshauna and Jarvis. And so, I mean, I've learned a lot from them as well. And, I know there's other people that are in my family. I know my last name is huge, like around the world. So that's one thing that's been pretty cool for me to learn is being in college and playing.
I did not know your
Oh, yeah, I found cousins everywhere I go, which is really, really cool.
Well, Rochester Rogers, wherever he goes, he finds his way to the lane, and it's a 5-point game, 90-85. Well, I'll keep that in mind if I come across another famous person with the name Holly. Turnaround does not fall for B.J. Walker, and it's picked up by Love. He finds Rogers, gets it off. They could have used that three. And that's going to be a foul. Dominic Dawson tipped the rebound to himself, and Cedar Valley, I know you're going for it. Maybe you let that one go just because I don't think you really had a position to get it.
It's almost a pointless foul, but I mean, as long as you're making your fouls count, I guess that isn't the worst call in the world. At least they're both going for it, right?
Lott short on the three. Bass goes for it. Couldn't get it. Tyner on the run. Hale Slices through, comes up short of the reverse. And a jump ball. 7:12 left in the fourth quarter.
Both teams seem to be getting to the basket at ease.
We've seen a little bit of everything in this game. You know, at the start, Cedar Valley was attacking inside. Minnesota had trouble, and then in the second quarter, they go on a big run. They knocked down a few threes. In the third, Cedar Valley hits a few, and they win the tip. And they've held the upper hand for most of the second half. High off the window, Anthony James puts it in.
That was a Steph Curry shot right there, high up on the glass. Backboard is always your best friend.
I've often said in my broadcast, the backboard is there for a reason. And whether you call bank or use the layup to bank it in, it's there. Don't be afraid to use it. Bullseye. Raheem Tyner makes this a 10-point game, and this is a critical swing as Cedar Valley's looking to close out.
As I mentioned earlier, you know, a couple advantages Cedar Valley has is a lot of their big men can shoot the long-range shots, which, you know, is very valuable in the leagues and the semi-professional leagues as well. So, I mean, as, you know, they look upon getting offers, you know, that'd be something great to further in their abilities as well.
Well, and even in the women's game, everyone talks about the evolution of the players and how versatile they are. The stretch four comes to mind. A lot of the bigs can do a lot of the things the guards can.
Right.
You know, Lauren Jackson was the trailblazer. That's going to be a foul on Minnesota. B.J. Walker goes to the line.
You know, it's always really cool to see, you know, a player above, you know, 6 feet, 6'5", you know, being able to dribble like a guard as well. You
Elena
know,
Deladon comes to mind. And Neka Gumake even is starting to shoot some threes now.
Mm-hmm. So it's great to see the game, you know, just furthering itself, you know, each and every year. There's bright futures, bright kids, bright players. So hopefully they can, you know, make a run in this league.
And speaking of versatility, you talked about this a little while ago. What did you make of having to play a four? Because I don't think you had to worry about that in high school. And like you said, everyone's big, so you're often going in there as an undersized post.
It was actually, it was kind of fun because, I mean, earlier, you know, in high school, I wasn't very fond of playing inside. I didn't really want to. I felt like, you know, I didn't touch the ball enough half the time. But, you know, in reality, I did because, you know, I'm right around the rim, you know, that's where the basketball has to go in the first place. And so, you know, I learned in college basketball that ended up being a very huge asset for me that I could be used at because, you know, all of our guard positions were filled. But it was definitely hard, you know, playing against the bigger and stronger players. You know, they put on a lot of muscle. They put a lot of muscle on me as well. But it was definitely something different for sure. You know, you got to jump a little higher. You got to move around a little bit more. But, you know, I was able to use my quickness to get around a lot of the bigger players.
Stoppage in play. Looked like there's some perspiration on the floor that has to be wiped up. Cedar Valley leads by 11, 96-85. With 5:52 left, Minnesota has made it interesting a couple of times, but they have not quite been able to get the lead back in this quarter. I was going to say, you talked about how that experience put some muscle on you. Do I dare ask how much you can bench press?
You know, it's getting up there, honestly. I was a little surprised when I looked in the mirror, you know, when our first game came up, and I'm like, wow, I was a little skinny, scrawny kid coming out of high school. So, I mean, you need it, though. You definitely need it. You know, dealing with players like a Brianna Jones. I remember I was caught up under the basket guarding her one time, and, you know, she didn't score, but that was definitely a load to take on for sure.
We had a collision between Dylan Hale and Quentin Jackson. They'll call the foul on Minnesota. And whatever happens here, Minnesota looks like they're set for a pretty long run, at least in the semi-pro circuit. Jason Sandifer, I talked to him, and he said last week when they played, he never laughed as much as he did, and the same for the rest of the team. This group gets along real well, and they saw how close they came in just their first season. and they'd love
You can
to
see
give
it
them a
all on the
chance.
court, with the way they play, the way that they mesh together. It's a really amazing thing to see. I experienced a little bit of that playing AAU with my team for about 6 years. It's very hard to get used to playing with other people going to the college level, but, you make lifelong friends doing this thing called basketball.
Indeed, and like here in semi-pro, in your case, EAU, when you played, it's often the best of the best on your team and on the opposing team. We've got a foul on Cedar Valley, 4:48 left, and this game's still not over, especially with the shot clock and with the blistering pace these two teams can put on if they choose.
Minnesota can make a really late run here. You get a couple stops down the stretch, make a couple shots at the end, and, you're back in it with a 4-point, 2-point game.
The question is, how will they step it up? That's what we'll come down to. What the?
Nice little
Dominic
tip-in
Dawson
basket.
tipped in the miss into the basket.
It looks like Minnesota's coming up with their press break here. It's the first time we've seen this in the game.
How often do you see that, though? Usually you tip it to yourself on a rebound, but especially with the angle Dawson had underneath. They get a stop.
They continue to push the ball. You got, coming up on 4 minutes here.
Well, they get a stoppage in play thanks to the foul call. And so Rochester Rogers will go to the line to try to close in this margin. And like I said, still a bit of time left, but it doesn't hurt to get a clock stoppage.
Of course, now catch your breath. I'm telling you, catch your breath. Second win.
2 big free throws. Yikes.
He's airballed that. Yeah, he's been playing very hard. It's a little bit understandable. Just got to get your legs up under you and hit it.
He gets the second one to drop. Tough to estimate the crowd here. Again, no bleachers. We're all on floor level, but we did have to get a few extra seats, so this game is attracting interest.
At least every seat's a great seat, right?
You can't argue about that. Another miss from the Court Kings. Another chance for the Rangers to pull in. Well, that was a tough shot inside, deflected by Cedar Valley. It will stay with Minnesota. I know they've been trying to attack the inside, but you've got to make sure the passing lane is open.
I think he almost tried a James Harden there. Foul on the third-point line.
Minnesota catches a break, though, as it went out of bounds. But you're right, that was Damian Lawler who tried to sell the foul. Refs didn't fall for it. I really don't think you need to do that either.
No, not in this game. I mean, you get as many shots inside as you can, maybe even second chance shots or even 3-point plays. That's right, exactly that.
Rochester Rogers scores inside, and now it's a 6-point game. We've seen Minnesota make some small spurts. Can they close it out, or will Cedar Valley hang on?
Minnesota doesn't like that call very much.
And it's tough with 2:57 left in the game, and you're trailing by 6. Both teams in the penalty. So Alex Houston will shoot 2.
Like we mentioned in the beginning, though, it comes down to, rebounds, defense, and free throws being made. And I know Alex Houston has, split a lot of his free throws that he's shot during out the game. Well, they've changed free throw shooters.
And Minnesota, they have to be careful here. They don't want to get too out of control or too upset, because the last thing you want is a technical at this stage. So it's important not to lose sight of where you're at in the game.
6-point deficit, just under 3 minutes. You definitely don't want a technical right now.
So it's Rajon Kelly who shoots the freebies. And he knocks them both down. Those are two big free throws, 98-90, in a lower scoring game than usual for Midwest Basketball League competition. And Minnesota could not convert down low. Cedar Valley, they could go for the dagger right here. Andre Hicks with the finish.
That might have just been the nail in the coffin. You know, great ball movement. You know, very calm down here in the back end of the court during the press break. And it's very important that they move the ball coming up. Mitch Williams going to the line for 2.
And that can only help Minnesota. That stops the clock again with 2:26.
I think this
Still
is the
some
most
time.
even. This is the most even I've seen the fouls being called as well.
Still some time, and it's not out of reach for the Rangers yet, but you got to knock down the freebies. And a couple of last year in the WNBA, Connecticut beat Minnesota in a regular season game. They erased an 11-point margin with 2 minutes to play, and I think in the conference semis, or no, it was the first round. I think, yeah, a couple of occasions actually where the Cavaliers came back from big deficits. I believe to beat the Pacers in one instance.
Or, I mean, the huge deficit of the 3-1. You know, they'll never live that down, beating the Warriors.
If you're a Warriors fan, and a lot of people are, including your old buddy Andrea.
Oh, yeah.
Did you become a Warriors fan after KD moved? Because I think he was your guy. So.
I was always, just, you know, wherever KD goes, I go. So I actually ended up buying a Durant jersey, which was really weird, you know, comparing it to the OKC jersey. But, you know, wherever he goes, I support him. It's my guy right there.
I know for Andrea, it made her fan support a little easier.
Oh, yeah.
KD and Steph Curry hold equal footing, and so when he went to the Warriors, her eyes lit up. Let's just put it that way.
Better. So it'll definitely be an interesting playoff. I know it hasn't reached the finals quite yet, but you know, to see the Cavaliers and Warriors go back.
If they go back, I think I know I wouldn't mind. Well, and then a more local example. I mean, you should have seen how many eyes lit up when Sylvia Fowles came here.
Oh yeah, she was a huge get for us though. You know, just amazing shot blocker inside. You know, she's tall, she's vocal, she's a leader, she's a veteran.
Oh, and a big-time basket for Raheem Tyner.
Just under the 2-minute mark here, you know, they're up 102 to 93.
Three-point play chance right here.
Still even on the foul calls, though.
Indeed, but I mean, that's got to be tough. Minnesota, they've been trying to get within this, and they played closely with Cedar Valley, had that 15-point lead early, but the fouls late, they've got to be killing them. So Tyner converts the 3-point play. 5 players in double digits for Cedar Valley, which is almost on par with what they like to do. Minnesota goes for the high-low, and Cedar Valley forces the steal. And Minnesota playing foul and chase here.
Just a lot of careless turnovers, you know, throughout the game, but especially late in this quarter coming up here. You know, there's a lot of those that contributed into this, you know, deficit being lost.
Well, and if the result holds out, Cedar Valley will stay undefeated at 7-0. Minnesota would go to 6-1, but to me what it came down to was the discipline. Cedar Valley just showed a little more poise in the second half. As you noted, Minnesota had some careless turnovers, the unforced turnovers, they always hurt. And Cedar Valley was able to capitalize on them in key instances to keep Minnesota from really threatening this Court Kings team.
I mean, that's important, especially, you know, when you get a lead, to keep the lead and, you know, to stay poised and stay under control. And, also still look, for your teammates. As I said, getting 3 or more players in double digits will always key towards a win. And, they've got 5 players in double digits, which, happened late in the second half, but, they made it happen. I think another thing they did well, they communicated very well on the court, and I know that's important in any basketball game.
If you're not in sync and you don't communicate, you run into trouble. Cedar Valley tries to get the exclamation point. They can't do it. Anthony James wanted a foul. He won't get it. Meech Williams missing the three-pointer, and that should just about do this, I think, for Cedar Valley. What do you make of your first game as a broadcaster?
At first I was a little nervous, but, this has been very fun. You're a great mentor. Let me just put that out there for all the viewers listening.
You need a new role model if that's what you think.
No, this is great. I mean,
if you think I'm a great mentor, you got to get out there. There's a world out there,
I'll give yourself some credit. No, but this is a great game to cover. I mean, you got a lot of young players that are looking for opportunities. I've been in that position. I know what it feels like, and I hope the best for every one of them. But I've seen some great talent here, and hopefully I can further this in my career as I go along and get my college degree, majoring in psychology and hopefully minoring in journalism.
Well, if you have any contacts or if you know of anybody at the Big Ten Network, feel free to pass my info along. I've been trying to get in there.
I got you. I understand. I got you.
But like you said, basketball is a channel for making a lot of friendships, whether it's with teammates or media or just about anything. There's a three-pointer for Quentin Jackson. Minnesota's going to call a timeout.
This game's not quite over yet. 10-point game, 15 seconds left.
A lot would have to happen, but as we noted earlier, these two teams aren't going to stop just because of the margin. They'll keep fighting. And remember, this is only the first of 3 meetings between these two. So these two teams will see each other again in 8 days. And as you know, the more times you play each other, the harder the games are because
that's true.
Both teams are going to have tape on each other.
Let's just say if Cedar were to win the next game, it's very hard to beat a team 3 times.
It's hard. I think someone looked at it statistically, and it's not as hard as the saying goes, but again, the more times you play each other, the more familiar you become. And
right.
You can attest to that. Well, last year with that series with Minnetonka. Sorry.
Well, it still hurts.
Sorry.
A bit. Just a little salt on the wound.
And I don't bring that up because they beat you, but what I mean is you played each other 3 times, and by that third game, you could tell that you guys knew each other.
They knew all of our stuff. They were calling our plays before we called them out, and we're just like, what?
Well, they were studying.
For sure, Film is important, too. It's important in college.
Good study habits are
in
important, but well, that's all right. You got to the NCAA tournament and got to play well. Maybe I shouldn't bring that up either as timer scores because you lost against another friend of yours in Kira Russell. Oh! Well, Minnesota will win this game, and Shane Bosek with the posterization.
For them to be on the losing end of this, that was maybe their most winningest highlight of this game.
And maybe that's just a message saying we'll be ready for you in 8 days, if nothing else. But it's Cedar Valley who will emerge victorious and stay undefeated. They'll go to 7-0. Minnesota falls to 6-1. 110-98 the final. And how about the result from Cedar Valley? They go down by 15 early in the second, but they made their way back and held the upper hand throughout most of the second half.
You play great defense, you make free throws, you win games.
And for Minnesota, how do you build on this game?
You learn from it. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from your careless turnovers. You tighten up on, making, easy baskets and, looking for your teammates a little bit more and getting everyone else involved and keeping them involved as well. Continuously being consistent with the lead that you guys gain and, just learn from your lessons.
Well, I hope you had fun. If we get another game while you're still around, I'd certainly like to have you back.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for having me.
So it looks like, the teams are going to gather around for
prayer, I believe.
Yep. And you get that at some of these lower levels, and I can't quite hear what they're saying, but and you see that a lot at semi-pro basketball. Some of the parochial schools do the same thing, and it's just nice for them after a hard-fought game where, as you said, it gets a little chippy. They can put that aside almost instantly and get back to being friends.
Right. I know a lot of teams pray before the games. I know in high school we prayed before the games, and even in college we prayed before games. Pray for no injuries, and pray that everyone whose families who's traveled to the game get home safe and arrive safely. And so I know that's a huge thing, and especially with a hard-fought game, an intense game like this, to come out with no injury for both teams.
So let's recap the scoring quickly before we wrap it up. Cedar Valley with a 110-98 win. Rajon Kelly, your leading scorer unofficially, with 20 points. Raheem Tyner with 19. Anthony James with 16. Andre Hicks with 15. Alex Houston with 14. Minnesota, led by Damian Lawler, 16 off the bench. Dominic Dawson with 14. Rochester Rogers and Shane Bosick with 12 each. Tim Lott, Latrell Love with 11. Well, thanks again, Nia, for stopping by. And if we don't get to see you again before you head back to Michigan State, we certainly wish you success in your sophomore season.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well.
And that wraps things up here from the High School for Recording Arts. Cedar Valley wins 110-98 for our entire crew. This is Mike Beaton. Thank you for watching.